This is a short tutorial on both how to remember the differences between the averages and functional skills, and also explaining the results if you get a question on that. So, first of all, a common problem is not a difficulty in calculating the mean, the median and the mode. It's actually remembering which is which. There are a few simple clues just using the words themselves to actually help you to remember which is which. So if we start with the mean, again, take the word itself, and this one, I'd like to think of it as the most difficult, or actually the meanest. So it's the meanest average to actually work out and calculate. So I'm going to put most difficult / the meanest, because this is the one where you have to do the most work. So first of all, you have to find the total of the set of values, and then secondly, you have to divide that total by the number of values. And this is all explained in more detail in the specific tutorials on these averages. So divide by the number of values. So like I say, I remember that one. The actual word, the mean, is the meanest or most difficult one to work out. Secondly, we've got median. Now taking this one, the word itself again is actually very similar to the word medium. And medium is defined as the middle. And that's exactly what you're looking at when you're trying to work out the median. You're looking for the middle number. So if you remember from that one, the first step is to order the numbers. And the second is to find the middle number. And then finally, we've got the mode. This is more a case of using the sound of the word and the start of it. So the mode, if I underline the mo, this is actually just the most common or the most frequent, however you want to word it. It's the most common or the most frequent number in the set of values. So as I say, that's just a little guide to try and help you remember which is which, because that's usually the more common problem than actually struggling with calculating them themselves. So we're going to move on now to actually explaining the results of averages once you've already calculated some. So we'll look at if you've had to find the mean average for a set of values in a previous question. So what we're going to say is, in a quiz or a test score, John, over a number of weeks, his mean average was worked out as 75, let's say, out of 100. Sue, her average worked out as 62. I'll just put M for mean in front of these. And then Wendy, her average was 80 over the weeks. So the question might say something along the lines of, choose who you think is the best person to put forward for a competition in the following weeks, or just using these results, explain which is the best person. This is actually the more obvious one, because when we're looking at average totals, generally speaking, it's going to be the highest one that's the best. So Wendy is going to be the best person to choose. Because as I say, she's got that highest average score over the number of weeks. Now, we're going to go on to looking at explaining ranges, and that's a little bit different and slightly more complicated to explain. So, if we take these same people in the quiz scores, we'll look at what the highest and lowest scores were over the number of weeks again. So with John, we're going to say the lowest that he scored was 60, and the highest that he scored was 90. So if we go on to Sue, we'll say the lowest Sue scored was 60 again, and the highest was 75. Then moving over to Wendy, the lowest she scored was 72, and the highest was 82. So range calculations tell us that we need to do the highest number subtract the lowest number. So for John, the range is equal to 90 minus 60, giving us a total of, and let's use the calculator for that if we're not too sure, 90 minus 60 equals 30. For Sue, it's going to be 75 minus 60, which will give us 75 minus 60 gives us 15. And Wendy, the range is 82 minus 72, which equals, if we get the calculator back up, 82 minus 72 is 10. So there are your three answers for the range for each person. Now when we were talking about the mean, or generally the average, we said it was just a case of the highest was the best, which was Wendy at 80. Now with the range, you want to think of that as like the opposite as the mean. Actually the low range is the best one in this case, because what that shows is consistency, and that's a really key word to use when you're trying to do these explanations. Consistency or a lack of variability, something along those lines. Because if we look at that, what that tells us is that Wendy is always scoring between 72 and 82. She might not have the highest score like John over here. However, John, sometimes he's scoring 60, the next day he could be scoring 90, the next day back down to 60. He's not very reliable in that sense, so you might not pick him just because he could have an off day, for example. Whereas Wendy, you know she's always in this consistent 82 to 72 bracket, and it just happens that she's actually got the highest average from before as well. So that's what you're looking for when you're comparing averages and also range. Average should generally be the highest, and range should be the lowest if you're trying to pick the best person in this example. And that's the end of this tutorial.